What's going on, everybody? It's your boy P.A.T, and this is the first episode of the Urban Renaissance Podcast. And on this episode, I'm basically just letting y'all in on who I am and what I do, and how I got started even in music, or even came up with this idea to do this podcast. And the reason why this podcast is about to occur is I'm going to be using it as a promotional tool, not only for myself but for other people, whether they're up and comers or they're established, or they run a business, they're musicians, or if they just have a great story to tell. And I figured that this would be a good way to get my story and their stories out to the world as well. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm not from Dallas, not from Houston, not from Austin. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. Area code 817. So we have to establish that from the jump. And I'm really doing this for my city because I guess you can say on the underground or the indie level, when it comes to music or fashion, marketing and promoting, I've done pretty well for myself. But I feel like I still haven't got to where I want to be. I'm still hungry, and I know I still need to continue to keep building what I've already built. And in doing that, I know I can help others build things as well and help them see their vision. Everybody's got a story to tell, and this could be a good way to help them get that story out. It will help them promote and market their businesses and their ventures and endeavors as well. And then a lot of times, we just gonna talk about whatever, and we gonna party and bullshit at the same time. Yeah, we gonna have a good time, cause we gonna be in the studio doing what we usually do. But we're gonna be professional as well. I often hear Nori talk about on the Drinks podcast, Drink Champs podcast, how he's the most unprofessional professional podcast. And I feel like, I'm kind of the same way. I'm going to be the same way. And, I'm a podcast listener. I'm a fan of Drink Champs, Marissa, Joe Budden, Rap Radar, Combat Jack, Taxstone. Like, I listen to all those. Tariq Nasheed. Like, these people have influenced me, and they have showed me that this can be a great avenue when you're building your brand. It's also a great avenue to use when you want to help others. I'm an MC. I've always MC'd, rapped. Kind of just started when I was younger, like elementary school. Reading Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein and enjoying those rhymes and that poetry, and I used to mimic that style, and I would write, stories in rhyme form. And eventually, that turned into writing songs. And I kept that to myself for a long time. Nobody even really knew I did it, besides my other homies that we dibbled and dabbled in rapping and writing. I produced songs and, crafted beats as well. about around the time in high school, the music was taking over a lot of stuff when it came to me because I was focusing so hard on it. And in school, I was a great student, man. I was a nerd. I still am a nerd to this day. But I also, ran the streets as well, and I did my little hustling and whatnot. But the grades were starting to slip a little bit. I was still making my A's, but my folks, my parents, my mom, my dad, they noticed that the focus wasn't on school as much, so they kind of took music away from me. Told me I needed to focus on, finishing high school and getting my education and figuring out what I'm going to do after high school and having a plan. So the music got taken away from me, and that's kind of really why I got a late start. But I thank my parents for that because, it put me in a position to where I can, financially fund a lot of the things that I'm doing. So I'm very glad for that. So after about a maybe 10-year hiatus of not even messing with music, besides being on the corner with the homies on the block and we just standing under the street light and freestyling, a cappella or to a beat, and the homies and the homegirls just chilling outside on the block, and that's how we passed the time. Because everybody that I hung with, we all loved music, and we all can rap. We all can rap, and coming from the Texas culture, being influenced by Swisher House, or Beltway 8, or Color Changing Click, Screwed Up Click, like that style of just freestyling, the man hold up, drink up in my cup, that Texas style and swing and twang we got in our voice and how we freestyle off the dome. It was just a part of the culture, and it was like everybody I was around could do it. We would be at the high school basketball games and football games at the top of the bleachers, and while the game was going on, we'd be up there like freestyling, just having a good old time. And I really enjoyed that. And I think during that time is what made me hone my skills as an MC and being around other great MCs, whether they were female or male, because it was females that was spitting that heat too back in high school. So during my hiatus, I guess you could say, of not actively trying to put together projects and put out music, I graduated high school and I went to college to play ball, played football at Navarro College, or I attempted to, because at that time sports was my life. Growing up, since I was 5 years old, it was football, basketball, baseball, and track, and that was year round for like 15 years. Well, really 13 years. When I got to junior college, I was just focusing on football, but that didn't pan out. So I came back home, went back to the block and tried to go to, local school, community college. But being around the homies and, school being in the neighborhood, it's like, do I want to stay on the block? Do I want to hustle and get some bread? Or do I just want to kick it with the homies and drink and whatnot and really do nothing? Or do I want to go to school? And a lot of days I was skipping classes, man, and I was chilling with the homies. And, the schooling kind of fell off. And personally, I tell a lot of the little homies, man, like, don't go to school at home. Get away from wherever you're at, no matter if you're from Fort Worth or you're from Miami or whatever. Don't go to school when you can, be comfortable. You're still at home, because you're going to find yourself staying in the streets with the homies, man, because I know I did. And I ain't saying that's going to happen for everybody, but I'm not the only one that'll tell you this because I've met other people and they say the same thing. So try to get out of your comfort zone, man, because there's no growth in the comfort zone. You want to grow, you got to push it to the limit. You got to get out of your comfort zone and try to do things that you might not think you'd be capable of doing because you might surprise yourself, man. And I actually think you will surprise yourself at what you actually can really do out here in this world. My entrepreneurial spirit, I think it just came out of, you know, being a cool dude, man, being a creative dude. With the fashion sense, because every day in high school and coming up, it was a fashion show, junior high, high school. Not so much elementary for me because I hadn't came into my own. I really didn't have a style. I mean, I had my own style and I was a cool person and I was well respected, but financially we weren't in a position to where I could be fresh and fly per se. In our community, the hip hop community, the hip hop lifestyle, living in that culture, we put a big emphasis on staying fly, and that just was one of my shortcomings. But as I got older, when I graduated elementary school, and I started hustling a little bit, making my own money, I came into my flyness. And we would be creative with the shoes or painting the shoes or switching out the shoestrings, just the normal story. Everybody did it. Whether, you were in New York or whatever, because I see documentaries like Just for Kicks and they talk about that stuff from back in the day. And I was like, yeah, we was doing that here, during, my run and in my generation. And, I always had it in me, to be creative with whether it was clothing or music or making beats or picking samples, writing rhymes, ghost writing for other people. It just was in me. I just hadn't figured out how to monetize it yet. And eventually I did. And a place that I went to that really, grew my confidence is when I got into the military. I'm an Air Force veteran, Operation OEF, OIF veteran. And I decided to go to the Air Force after I noticed, I was really not doing anything with school and, blowing financial aid money, and my parents helping me pay for school. I'm hustling to pay for school, and I really wasn't doing anything with it. So I said, you know what, let me go in the military and get some help, because I knew they would pay for my education. I would get a free education. I would learn a skill. I would learn a trade. And the first time that I did sign up for the military, I was in the delayed entry program. And I got to MEPS, the Medical Interest Processing Center. And I backed out of it. It was coming time to swear in and getting ready to go to basic training. I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this. So I went back to the block for another year before I decided to actually do it for real this time. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Plus, I was kind of, running from some things that was happening in the streets as far as, people talking, information getting out, and I was like, man, it's getting hectic. And at, the time when I was getting ready to go to the military, I was on hard times. I was working jobs. I always had a job. But, when you was used to getting that fast money, because I always kept a job, but I hustled as well. And I would use whatever job I was working to finance my hustling. And I know I ain't the only one that done that. And I said, you know what? This working a job and going to school, it just ain't cutting it, man. The lifestyle I wanted to live, you know, once I stopped hustling and just was focusing on that, I wasn't getting that fast lifestyle. I wasn't getting that thrill. So I changed it up, man. I left the streets and I joined the Air Force and loved it. Became an aircraft mechanic, man, a jet engine mechanic, aerospace propulsion. I was not a nonner, as my other military brothers and sisters from other branches like to talk about the Air Force, call it the Chair Force and whatnot. I was not one of them. I was active. I was out there working on jets. I was highly trained. I knew the rules of combat. You know, I could go do TCN duty while deployed. And that experience really, really molded and shaped me and changed my life. So I did my time in the military and I met some great people, some great friends, lifelong friends. Just like my lifelong friends that I grew up with in the city, because I'm still close to a lot of them. And you're gonna hear from a lot of them in my podcast. Because I'm gonna talk to them because a lot of them are doing a lot of amazing things. Like they got their own businesses or they rap or they have a clothing line or you know they're established with a large company somewhere doing big things, and they're in different fields. And you're going to hear from them. And I'm going to make sure of that because I want to give them a platform to tell their story like I'm telling mine. But you know, about 5 years ago, I got out of the Air Force and started a clothing line called Runway Boys with some good friends of mine. Shout out to my boy Kurt, my boy Jakari, aka Venom, my boy Mac. And this clothing line was built around a traveling lifestyle because if you know me, and for the people out there in the radio land that, podcast world that do know me, I like to travel. And for the ones who are just now meeting me and hearing my voice, traveling is an addiction of mine. I've traveled to many places from Thailand to Korea to Australia, on my own dime on a lot of them, and with the military on some of them. But the military is definitely what made me find my love for traveling. And I travel in other ways as well, you know. Shout out to them Prince Howard boys in that square. But anyway, we put together a clothing line called the Runway Boys, and that was based off the traveling lifestyle and, the United States Air Force service that we all done. And I say done because we're all out now, just enjoying life and marketing and promoting our clothing and designing clothing and hats. And I love it, man. And you can find us on www.runwayboys.com. That's RUNWAYBOYZ.com. And the freedom of having your own clothing line, man, and, designing different articles of clothing and hats and putting things together, man, it's so much fun, man. And we've made it pretty lucrative, but we still need to build our brand. not only, am I down with the Runway Boys, we've built something great. Me being a fan and a lover of hip hop, man, I'm an MC and I got music out there. I'm a producer as well. And you can find me on all major digital retailers. You can find me on Pandora. Just search for me as Patrick Barnett, or you can check my main Pandora channel, which is Patrick P.A.T. Barnett. That's P period A period T period. You put that in there, you'll find me on Pandora, man. You can find me on iTunes and Google Play. Check the links in the description, and check out some of the music that I got out there. Whether it's an instrumental album or it's some songs I've written. When it comes to the music, man, I've been having a lot of success lately, whether it was getting 2 Pandora stations, or getting invited to the Grammys as an indie artist, getting recognized, or, being on the ballot to possibly get a nomination, which is something that I haven't, done yet. I haven't got nominated for a Grammy yet. But they are definitely looking at me. They have been for about the past 5 years. Because 5 years ago is when I decided to take music serious. And 5 years ago, I made an album. It's called Where the Sidewalk Ends. Because like I told you, my big rhyming influence when I was a kid was Shel Silverstein. And that album did pretty dang well, man. Did pretty well. Still doing well, even though it's not up on, the sites right now. I'm getting ready to re-upload it and put it back out there. But you can find it, whether you go to Live Mixtapes and Google me up on there, or search me up. You can find that album. But if you really want to support the music, man, make that purchase. It'll be up again soon. That first album I put together, man, it was, at the end of stages of my Air Force career, at my last duty station, which was McConnell Air Force Base. I worked with Hightower and other engineers and producers, and my boy Javon Moore, my boy Demo, and we just put together like an amazing project, man. And it took my whole life to actually put that album down. And the reason why I made that album was just to, prove to myself that I could make an album. And I was still pretty green when it came to professionally recording music. I didn't like the sound of my voice. I never did, even back in, junior high and high school when I would book studio sessions. Which my first studio session was booked by my boy Tum Tum, man. He was like, man, Pat, you got something, man. I was like 15, and he was like, I want to get you in the studio, man. I'm going to take you go see my boy over here in Eastwood. And I went in there and recorded a song called Give Me a Mic. But I always noticed, even back then and while I was recording my first album, that I just wasn't comfortable with the sound of my own voice, the recorded sound. I never thought I was good enough. I didn't know if it was good enough. I didn't like the way it sounded. And it always sounded real good in my head when I would rap my songs and write my songs, put my songs together. I wasn't sure if I was able to translate that out into the real world and in that booth. But apparently I did pretty good. I did pretty well. And I've been getting better. I've been growing. Every time I go to the studio, I can tell I'm getting better. And the music is getting better. And I really really believe I'm coming into my own as a artist, as a producer, as a fashion designer, as a man, as a brother, as a son, as a friend. And I'm thankful for that delay in that whole process and me going through the things that I went through in life and making those decisions and, joining the military because that helped shape me. And hip hop helped shape me because in a way it raised me. Because my parents are phenomenal. They've been married forever. I'm not going to tell you how long they've been married, but just know they've been married for a long time, decades. And I'm so grateful to have them in my life. And back when I was in the streets hustling and whatnot, I often thought, like, why am I doing this? I got two parents, we're doing pretty well, but I needed the money, man. I wanted that fast money. I wanted to live that fast lifestyle, and I did. I did. And I'm not saying it like I'm super proud of it, but I had a good run, man. I stayed fresh, kept a car. Still keep cars to this day. I love cars, man. But I love the music more and I love the style and the fashion more. And I'm just P.A.T, man. That's my moniker. That was given to me from one of my Air Force homeboys, A-Bar, man. He would just call me P.A.T, and a lot of people had, called me P.A.T before then, but it was like I was sitting around in Korea one day when you're on the yard, I'm like, I need a rap name. But when I would freestyle, I always be like, it's the P.A.T, but I was just spelling my name because everybody called me Pat or Lil Pat. Like the homies know me as Lil Pat. And I was like, man, I gotta come up with a rap name. And I had many different rap names, man. I was Stripe, which was an acronym for something. I was Lil Pat, but I was like, it's too many Lils. So, a lot of people were telling me, man, you just call yourself P.A.T. or just call yourself Pat. And one day I was like, man, I gotta make Pat mean something. So I made it mean poetic and talented. So that's what the P.A.T means, man. It's poetry and talent over an instrumental. Runway boy is a traveling lifestyle. It's enjoying the world, experiencing the world, expanding your mind when you travel. Midnight Society Entertainment. I was a fan of a certain Nickelodeon show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And they would sit around and tell their stories and sit around the campfire and tell ghost stories and whatnot. And I feel like through my music I'm telling my story. The ups and the downs. So I was like, man, I'm gonna call it Midnight Society Entertainment. So that's how I came up with the record label name. And I've been having a good run as an indie artist. And as this podcast continues, you will definitely get to hear about the growth of me as an artist, and hopefully you'll get to see it too. I want to catch as many ears as possible. I want to get my message out. I have a dream as well, and I want to help people with their dreams also and provide them a platform to do their thing. And I will do that. I'll be helping myself and helping others. So that's just a little bit about me, man. And we're going to talk about everything from fitness, to the state of the black community, or to just the state of the world, what's going on in the world. And we're going to talk about kicks, we're going to talk about fashion, we're going to talk about engineering when it comes to music. I got a lot of good people around me, man, and I'm going to make sure they're going to come on this show, and they're going to give you some game and some good viewpoints on what I feel like they're experts in, and people's opinions that I respect. So we ain't gonna get too Hollywood in the beginning, but maybe this will grow into something that we can become quote unquote Hollywood with it. But right now it's just raw and uncut, quote unquote some street shit. So make sure y'all tune in, man. And you can visit the website at www.urpat.net. That's the letter U, the letter R, P.A.T.net. That's my blog. That's where the podcast episodes will be hosted, as well as on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are found. I'm going to get it out there to y'all. And I want to bring y'all into my world, into the world of the people that I interview. We'll just be one big happy family. Because at the Urban Renaissance, man, this is where we all can be ourselves, man. We can state our opinions, we can be ourselves, and we can have fun, man, and be in a great atmosphere. Because it's all love, man. It's all love. Because I know a lot of people misunderstand me, or they got a viewpoint of me because of the way maybe they think I portray myself in social media or on social media and whatnot. But a lot of them don't know me. And the people who do know and love me, man, when they hear comments from other people or opinions from other people about me, they'll look at them crazy like, nah, you don't even know Pat like that. You got him all messed up. And I love them for that. So this podcast, really, man, I'm calling it the Urban Renaissance because, when it comes to this Renaissance stuff, we gonna hit a lot of different topics, It's gonna be a changing of the guard. It's gonna be a marketing and branding and promotion tool. It's gonna be a place for people can come vent, people can come tell their story, and we all get to, experience it and listen to it and champion them and get down with their campaign. Help build them up, as well as, me wanting to help build myself up and build my brands up and the different things I got going on. Because I got my hand in a lot of different pots. And I'll be, telling y'all about what else I got going on as the episodes begin to roll out. It's definitely going to be a great experience here on the Urban Renaissance podcast, man. And like I say, man, I'm influenced by a lot of other great podcasters and radio hosts and whatnot. Shout out to the Breakfast Club as well, a big influence of mine. I'm a fan of the Brilliant Idiots podcast too, with Charlamagne. It's just like, man, I can do that too. Let me try my hand in that. Let me get it at a shot. Maybe that'll help me out. And it'll help me, help others. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned in. Subscribe wherever you can find me, whether it's YouTube, or Vivo, or iTunes, or SoundCloud. When this podcast start dropping and start rolling and start building, man, stay tuned in, man. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna learn a lot. We're gonna talk about a lot. We're gonna build a lot. We're gonna help a lot. And we also gonna have fun. A lot of fun. This is the host of the Urban Renaissance Podcast, your boy P.A.T. And I just want to say, help me and help others fulfill their dreams if you feel like you down with that campaign, man.